doers of the word and not hearers only. We ask all these things in your son's precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Are James and Shirley here today?
No,
They're on vacation.
Okay.
Okay.
Yesterday I had my 62nd high school graduation reunion was held, and I got to go by Zoom, and nobody there could hear, so I saw more ears than I saw eyes, because everybody was holding the phone or getting up close. And one guy started to tell him he needed to go to the ENT. But that's what age is like. And I do appreciate so many of you saying this is a well-suited text for me today. Yeah, I was wondering why I was going to teach without the Bible, but my wife, 20, and this is probably for me one of the most unique and interesting. Thank you. Okay, interesting texts in Scripture, and we have to say that God speaks. And my question is, how many ways does God speak to us? Of course, we're going to see some today. How many ways do God speak? Just to name a few ways that God speaks.
Through our prayers.
Right. Through the Bible, yeah.
Through other people.
Through what?
Through other people.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly. Do you have?
Nature.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. To me, nature is one of the ways that I really, and if you look at all of the things that we have attributed to Christian thinking, for example, the pine cone, as it opens, it looks like a cross or a dogwood. There's many things in nature that we have attributed to, and if we're not careful, we spend more time thinking about that than we do actual scripture itself, because nature does speak. And I'm not. Let me get to my right spot. Hold on just a minute. So God does speak to us in many ways. Now, when you think about the Bible, how many places do you think of where God had an animal speak?
What about the snake?
The snake, and
The donkey.
right. I first thought about the snake, and I tried to find a sound that would sound like the snake, but I couldn't. But I did find this sound, and I want you to identify this sound for me. What is it? A what?
That was you when you said that.
That was me when I was trying to clear my throat this morning. Exactly was. And y'all gave credit to the donkey. But that's.
My daddy used to sing to me when I was little. Have you ever heard the song Johnson had an old gray mule?
No, sing it for us.
Johnson had an old gray mule, and his name was Simon Slick. He'd roll his eyes and push his tail in the mire. That mule would kick, and you'd hear him go.
That I think the choir ought to do that one Sunday.
But why not in the choir now, though?
No, but I like your choice of music. I like your choice of music.
I always sang that to us and then the branch kids when they came along.
What then did you think the donkey spoke in Hebrew, Aramaic, or Greek? All the above. Well, whatever the only did. Oh, hush up. But I want you to hear. This is one of the other animals I think that spoke. That's not it, but I'll get to it. And when was that? But y'all are wrong. That's what Lorraine when she wakes up. Because she wakes up like that. Suddenly all the lights start coming on and all kind of shit. So that's when she wakes up. But in many ways God speaks to us. I've got all my notes here for a minute. Let me get back. But I don't want to go through this again.
Somebody needs to admit somebody.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And if anybody asks to leave, don't let them.
Like they've already gone.
Yeah. Oh, don't let them.
They've already left you.
Oh my goodness.
That's our phone three. Whoever our phone three.
We're glad to have all of you on, Pat and Dwight and an iPhone and me. Hey, you know what GOAT stands for? The greatest of all times. Well, I've always thought this would be a good day to have a good fun. So Willene carried me down to Trustful yesterday and took me for a walk. She got my wheelchair out and put a rope on it, and we started walking down and walked across the bridge. And when we got across the bridge, I looked down and I said, "Hey, there's a frog." And the frog spoke up and said, "Yeah, I'm a talking frog, and if you'll kiss me, I'll turn into a beautiful princess." Well, instead of doing that, Elaine said, at our age, we don't need any more surprises, but a talking frog, that'd be something we could take the Bible class. So, Elaine, would you come up and take it out this morning so we could show everybody the talking frog with us this morning? But we know that Barry got us toward the journey into Canaan last week, and we know that the people had been complaining and etc. And now they are on the edge. They had they encountered the Amorites first, and the Amorites have there's a connection between the Israelites and the Amorites, and the Moabites. I said the Amorites. The Moabites had that was Lot's nephew. Abraham's nephew Lot had two daughters, and each of them. We forget how important children were in that day, particularly men. And throughout the early part of the Bible, we have a lot of very incestuous and drunken occasions when children were conceived in the family. And this is what happened to Lot. His daughters got him drunk, and he had relations with both of them, and each had sons. The first son was Ben Ami, and the second one, the first one was Moab, and the second one's Ben Ami, and they became the Moabites from that generation. You remember in Genesis, we read the Moab means father or from the father, and Ben Ami means son of the people. And both names were given to the sons born to Lot and his daughters after the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. So there is that connection. Well, they got on they were on the east side of the Jordan. They were making their way up near the Dead Sea across from the city of Jericho. And if you look west, you could see the Mediterranean Sea, and they were ready to cross in, but they had already fought against the Amorites and won. And now the people in the land, rather than Israel being afraid, the people in the land were fearing the people of Israel. And so, as they were making their way up, the king, Balak, uh, who was the king of Moab, was intimidated by the Israelites. And so he enlisted Balaam, who was a seer, a prophet. Uh, some would see him as a false prophet, but nonetheless, he was a prophet. And he was about 400 miles away from them. And they employed him to come as a prophet to curse the people of God. They came to him several times, and apparently Balaam was a greedy person, and Balaam was willing to listen to the person with the most money. God said, "Don't go with them," and they kept coming back and appealing for Balaam to curse the people of God. And so, as he continued to give money or whatever to Balaam, Balaam finally decided to go with them. And this is where our lesson picks up. Someone read for us Numbers. Hush, Art. No, you talking, I'm trying to talk. And somebody read Numbers 22, verses 22 through 27, please.
Then God's anger was aroused because he went, and the angel of the Lord took his stand in the way as an adversary against him. And he was riding on his donkey, and his two servants were with him. Now the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way of his drawn sword in his hand. The donkey turned aside out of the way and went into the field. So Balaam struck the donkey to turn her back onto the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path between the vineyards, with a wall on this side and a wall on that side. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she pushed herself against the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, so he struck her again. Then the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where there was no way to turn either to the right hand or the left. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she lay down under Balaam. So Balaam's anger was aroused, and he struck the donkey with his staff.
Generally, when we think about obstacles in our way, we often think about when we are trying to do something good, that obstacles are there. But in this case, God was trying to protect by placing obstacles there and saying, "Don't go, don't do this," and but yet uh, he was trying to protect Balaam in this journey. And perhaps you have had those kind of experiences in your own life when you have been doing something and you didn't get to do what you wanted to do. You didn't perhaps go where you wanted to go, and it's been maybe what I have called unseen angels, where we have been protected from dangers in life, and we don't know how many of those kinds of events have occurred in our life. Perhaps we may never know. But there's an old Aesop tale, I believe it's Aesop tale, called the King and the hawk. And it is about a king who had a hawk that he trained, used to hunt for himself, hunt for rabbits. And he was making a journey. And as he was making that journey, he got very thirsty. And so he looked for some water, and all he could find was a trickle of water coming out of a rock. And he attempted to put his container there to get the water. And the hawk that he had trained knocked the container out of his hand. And he got very angry at the trained hawk for doing so. Then he put it back there again, and the hawk once again knocked it out of his hand. And the third time he gathered enough water in the cup to drink, and he attempted to drink the water, and the hawk knocked the can or the container or cup out of his hand once again. And he got so angry that he took his sword out and he killed the hawk. Then he climbed up to the pool where the water was coming from, and as he peeked over into the pool, there was a venomous snake dead in the pool, and the hawk was simply protecting him from the danger of drinking the water. In many ways, you could regard this same event occurring here in the life of Balaam, because as the text tells us, each way he turned, the donkey, it's interesting, he opened the mouth of the donkey and closed the eyes of the seer. He couldn't see what the donkey could see, and the donkey saw the danger. Perhaps you've heard the stories of that, and I will share some events or other things in the Bible where this can be said. Not talking animals, but how animals saved and preserved. But this is what was happening. These obstacles were met every way that the donkey turned. He was protecting Balaam as he turned one way, even as he crushed his foot, even as he laid down. And if you've ever worked on a farm with animals, you know how contrary they can be and how angry you can become when they don't do what you want to do. Of course, I grew up around that, and I know exactly the feeling that Balaam had when the animal or the donkey would not respond to him as he instructed. Therefore, the obstacles are there to protect Balaam. But there was first the account of the donkey saw the angel and turned into a field. Balaam hit her to return her to the past. Then there was a narrow passage between two vineyards. The donkey pressed against the wall, squeezing Balaam's foot. He hit her again. And then the third, he was placed where there was no route to turn, and the donkey simply did what a donkey is known for doing. It just sat down. Through all of these encounters, God was protecting Balaam, but the donkey saved Balaam's life. Now, some other places that you might, I decided to look up some other places where an animal cared for a person. Elijah was fed by the ravens. Jonah, of course, was saved by a great fish. We already saw last week in the 21st chapter how the people of God were saved by a bronze serpent. Daniel was saved in the lion's den. Noah in the ark and the animals on the ark. The dove and the olive leaf as it brought it back. The ram in place of Isaac. The coin in the fish's mouth. All of these are agents of revelation, protection, and provision. And we are reminded that very creatures around us often are used of God to save us. Maybe you grew up, all I knew was Ren 1010 and Lassie. And I don't know the number of times that Ren 1010 and Lassie came barking, and we all wanted to go help find whoever's in trouble. And recently on TV, I saw the same thing occur, where a dog's owner was saved because the dog got the attention of other people to come. And even people in this church I know of in this church have had the same thing to occur in their life. We know that dogs, particularly, are used now to even do. They can recognize cancer. Dogs are used to, search for termites, and dogs are used in of course, if you may be familiar with what's called a grief dog. We had one up in East Swamp, Georgia, a long time before such a thing was named, and his name was Hubcow. And everybody knew Hubcow. As a matter of fact, Hubcap was so popular when he died, they tried to get the pastor of the First Baptist Church to come to do his funeral. And he wouldn't, but there were more people that showed up for the dog's funeral than usually to hear him preach. So, and I had a man to come to me one time. He said to me, would you do my dog's funeral? I said, I don't do dog's funerals. He said, well, I had $500. I said, why didn't you tell me that dog was a Baptist? So, we have all kinds of, we see in this text, one of the most ironic and probably a comedic event that teaches us a great truth about how God protects us, and particularly as he was preparing them to go into the promised land. And they were fearful of that, but we have to be reminded in Genesis 12:3, we are taught that those whom that God blesses Israel, and anybody who curses Israel will be cursed. And so we know that the mission that Balaam was given to go and curse the people of God was impossible, because God had already said, they have been blessed of me, and you can't curse them. We remember the importance of Esau, Jacob, and the blessing of Esau and Jacob, that when a blessing was given, it couldn't be changed. Therefore, that couldn't be changed. So the donkey and Balaam's donkey got the attention of Balaam. Someone read verses 28 through 31.
Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and she asked Balaam, what have I done to you that you have beaten me these 3 times? Balaam answered the donkey, you made me look like a fool. If I had a sword in my hand, I'd kill you now. But the donkey said, am I not the donkey you ridden all your life until today? Have I ever treated you this way before? No, he replied. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the path with a drawn sword in his hand. Balaam knelt low and bowed in worship on his face.
So the donkey, and what was occurring, was to get the attention of Balaam, and for God to open his eyes to what happened. Now, the word of the number 3 in the Bible stands for what? What? Right, divinity is, the Godhead, right, exactly. It's divinity. And so here, I think it is used to say that it is God who is speaking, and and so he asked, "Why have you beaten me these 3 times?" And I think that was to say, God's trying to get your attention. He wants to speak to you, and so the donkey began to talk, and some have asked the question, you know. Why didn't somebody feel abnormal that the donkey was speaking? And of course, I've been reminded many times, that there's nothing abnormal about a donkey speaking.
You know what J. Vernon McGee said?
What's it?
He said back then it was a miracle to hear an ass to talk, and he said nowadays you can't get one to shut up.
Yeah, I was hoping Jenny would be on here because this is a female donkey. And we were talking about Jenny, but not Jenny Smith. But yes, the donkey spoke. And for you who have pets, I know that some of your pets do talk, and some of them intelligently.
The Bible says it's written all your life until today, which makes it sound like you're not riding anymore.
Say that again.
In verse 30 it says, "Am I not the donkey you've ridden all your life until today?" So he's ridden them until today. Might not be riding anymore.
Right, you may be walking now, huh? And one of the interesting things in verse 29 there, it says you may be like a fool. I've never had any trouble doing that on my own. But then what really opened when when his eyes were opened, then he saw the angel standing there with a sword drawn, and then he realized the danger that he had been in. And what did Balaam say? If he had had a sword, he would have done to the donkey. Yeah, and the angel said, you came close to death yourself. And but then he did the right thing, which was to bow down and worship God. To me, it's like a Shakespeare comedy in terms of how it is written. Now, will someone read? Is it 32? Yeah, the 32 through 35.
The angel of the Lord asked him, "Why have you beaten your donkey these 3 times? I have come here to oppose you because your path is a reckless one before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If she had not turned away, I would certainly have killed you by now, but I would have spared her." Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, "I have sinned." Wait a minute, take the glasses off. "I did not realize you were standing in the road to oppose me. Now, if you are displeased, I will go back." The angel of the Lord said to Balaam, "Go with the men, but speak only what I tell you." So Balaam went to the prince of that person.
But,
35?
yeah.
I'm 30.
Yeah. And of course, the angel asked Balaam again why he had beaten the donkey 3 times. And he said, "I came out to oppose you because I consider what you are doing to be evil." And, and I believe that there are times that God does stand in our way and prevent us. What evil do you think he was stopping him from doing?
He was opposing God's people by, going to Balak and basically cursing God's people.
Right, you're trying to, and he was driven by what?
Greed.
Greed. Yeah, that the idea of money and was more important than anything else. I remember growing up in a community where it was common, if somebody did something for you, you would say, "How much do I owe you?" And I grew up if a neighbor came across the street and did something for you, you would ask out of courtesy. Most of the time, a neighbor would come across the street would say, uh, I'm just glad to do it. I had a different experience though when I asked a neighbor where I'm now living to come over, and I, out of courtesy, asked him how much do you owe me. He told me. and we paid him, but wasn't much advice. But it wasn't worth what we paid him. I can assure you that. But my granddad's response was, "Thank you until you're better paid." And that's emblazoned in my mind because that was most of what I got was a thank you until I was better paid. And then when I was paid 50 cents a day. And then my grandmother had the audacity to tell me how to spend it. Usually for something like a shirt, help your mother and daddy out, buy a shirt or something, and of course that's what. But anyhow, the angel was put there to protect and try to help Balaam to understand that first of all he could not accomplish that purpose. He could not curse the people. Plus, he shouldn't have been driven by greed to do that. And so Balaam made this confession, or the angel said to him, Balaam said, "I have sinned, for I did not know that you were standing in the path to confront me. And now, if it is evil in your sight, I will go back." And then, of course, he did offer his sincere, I think, response to that. But the final instructions that God gave was, "Go with the men, but you are to say only what I tell you." Now, those are good instructions. I may have told you, but I'm going to tell you again about my son-in-law and I went on a trip together to Cumberland Island. We're going there to camp for a couple of days. And we got off to Savannah, and I said, it was dark by then. We were going to a hotel, and it was dark, and it was just like a light came on in my mind, and my face turned red. I had done such a good job preparing for that trip. I'd taken my tent, I had it repaired, and I got all the things necessary, and I was very well prepared. But I realized in that moment that I had left my tent at home after all that. So he said, "No problem. No problem. We'll just go stop in at Walmart and get your tent," which we did. I said, I feel so bad about this. He said, "Nobody has to know but me and you." And so I went in and I found the tent. I came around and I was paying for the tent. I got the tent paid for, and I came around. My son-in-law was sitting on a bench and he was talking to my daughter, and I heard him say, "Guess what your daddy did?" Well, in this text, he was saying, you can go, but only tell what I want you to say to them, and that is to bless them and not to curse them. And so this, to me, is one of we need to here clearly that God has a plan and a mission, and we are to give that plan and mission to others, and to go about as Balaam did, to tell what God wanted us to say. The key lessons are God's blessings cannot be overturned. God and compromise can corrupt even those who have spiritual gifts. Obedience without sincerity still leads to destruction. God's sovereignty turns curses into blessings for his people. And again, this is the part that I did not get to. That is, the star of Jacob, the prophecy, was toward the coming of the Messiah. And so we seek to follow God's plans. We can anticipate his providential care, divine protection, and the fulfillment of his purposes in our lives. He may use unexpected means, even talking donkeys, to give our attention, to get our attention, and keep us on his path. Do you have any comments that you want to make?